Okay, from what I can see, the auto manual button works perfect. Forward reverse button works perfect. Everything in manual works is the way it's supposed to. Stage button, as we know, is not doing anything right now. Not convinced we need that button. I have to give it some thought. If there ends up being a purpose for it, we've got it. When we come over here, I believe you have this marked as switch number 35. There's a number 35, maybe input. That switch is to detect and understand that we, oops, back up, my apologies. Switch number 36 is to tell us, hey, I've got a sheet here and there's a panel on the conveyor. You could also just open your eyes and see it, so I'm not convinced we need that switch, but right now it's been requested. Number 35, that switch says, hey, I'm here at the end, I've hit the ram. So that's the current purpose of that switch. Switch number 37 is going to, in my mind, start the glue, stop the glue, start the water, stop the water. Switch number 38 is going to be eliminated. We've stolen the inputs or the wires for that for future. So I put my panel on. Mr. Switch over here says, hey, open your eyes, I see a panel. I push the stage button. In theory, don't know if we need it. It walks up and it's able to touch the switch number 35. Stage button becomes a timing issue that potentially works when the start button doesn't. So we will have to talk about that. I apologize for not having it clear. It's because it's been requested and I can't quite understand why we need it. So, real life, the ram's up, I hit start. Ram drops, panel hits a switch, glue, water. We start running through to the second conveyor. And way over here, behind this guy, I've got what do I got back here? So now I'm going to hit switch number 39, and the ram's up. Switch 39 is saying, hey, you have arrived. Switch number question mark here is now going to be gone. We're stealing those wires. Number 40 becomes your glue on, water off, glue off. All these buttons are working fine, so everything is good there. Hit start, panel goes through, and this switch, along with the infamous ram here, will go ahead and say, hey, I have arrived. Now, when we get to the press, we have there we go. So we have an emergency stop. We have a start button. And the start button is a green momentary button. We have a stop button. It's a red momentary button. When I press stop, I want the plenum to go to machine home, not part home, but machine home, and I want to stop the conveyor. When I press the emergency stop, that's just like our normal emergency stop. There's an auto manual button here as well. It simply goes from auto manual, it's only relative to the conveyor. So then there's a forward reverse for the conveyor. Okay, and what happens is that's because I assumed we couldn't do a manual up and down over here, and then my hitting the stop button becomes kind of my manual procedure where when I hit stop the press lifts up out of the way if something's wrong. Then I have a buzzer, a cute little buzzer here actually. Where is it? Here he is. He goes beep beep and he flashes at the same time. And what he is going to do is he is going to be identifying that the press cycle has now ended. So now that the press cycle has ended, we will be telling the obviously after the panel comes into here, it comes over to this guy and you've got your little laser sensor in here, and this thing clicks on 8 foot, 9 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot. So it's a little laser sensor that will have reflectors on the other side, 4 reflectors, and when the panel comes in, it identifies, hey, I'm here, and at that point what's happening is we're obviously squishing for X amount of time. I don't know if we have any reference to time anywhere right now where we're controlling the time. It is a harder code item, meaning that the operator doesn't have to change all the time, but I don't know if we want to bring that to surface in that menu. So this buzzer light, again, or blinking buzzer light, his purpose is to say, hey, the press has done its cycle, go ahead and press start again. When I press this start button, what's supposed to happen is the RAM over here comes down, the panel comes into the press, and at that time would be going to the end would stop when it hits this laser sensor. At that point the press come down and press for its time cycle. I am believing that there's no reason why as soon as the panel's going out you can start putting a new one in, because the press becomes the bottleneck of the time. Another light over here would be preferred. This light, and or if we wanted to add a buzzer we could, I guess, whatever. This light would be relevant to the conveyor over here. So the conveyor that bolts to the end here, if there's a panel on here, we might want to have a switch here coming back and saying, hey, there's a panel here, turn that light on. Now that could be obviously something that I don't even need to run through the computer. It just could be that switch turning that light on and off, if that helps you out as far as inputs outputs go. We've added a transformer in here. Not know if that matters at all or anything, but just kind of a heads up. That gets our 220 volts. Over here I'd still like the buttons cycle start and cycle cancel, but if we don't have those inputs I really don't need them. I just like them, but I could do without them if I actually have to. So over here the only question I have at this point is, like I say, do we want to add time in here for the press time, where we're just bringing that right to surface? We do have the room. It wouldn't take much. It is something that will need to be tweaked from time to time. So I don't know. It's kind of a good question. Or we need the button that's, if it's not too hard to do, like we talked about the passwords, where you go behind a password screen and you're actually able to control it that way. So that'd probably be the ultimate. But I don't know if that password screen is still good. So hopefully that's details. Thanks, Mike. Cheers.